Hi, everybody. Okay, this is my YouTube clip on Pope Francis. What a fascinating guy. I have a lot to say, but I'll try to keep it short because I'm too long winded. I'm making castles, meanwhile. Two big things happening with Pope Francis, and I think that the overarching message so far of his visit has been one about forgiveness and human imperfection, and it's an awesome message actually. So at first, when I found out that he was fast tracking Junipero Serra, the big guy of the Spanish missions, which is how Spain tried to get control over the West, this part of the United States, California, and lower Southwest was all part of the Spanish Empire, and Spain didn't really have the resources at the time to properly settle it. Or, they used people, and because all of the indigenous people who lived here were hunter gatherers, there wasn't like a good way to colonize it. Like in Mexico, they could just go in and take over a huge city like Mexico City, Tenochtitlan. But here, there wasn't any big city. It was just, I mean, here were the most sophisticated hunter-gatherers that existed throughout the whole like what's now the whole United States, but there wasn't any way to like gain control of them. There wasn't a city to just go into. So the mission system was very important because they built these missions and they kind of corralled all the people in. And it ended up killing a lot of people, destroying their way of life, etc. So it doesn't have a great reputation, does it? For the Pope, who's gone to places like Bolivia that are like all indigenous basically and he said, I'm sorry for what happened under the Spanish rule. For him to do this is strange, right? I have a theory. I think he's really this subversive and cool of a guy. He's really smart, and he definitely had thought this through, I think. And I think there's a weirder message. It's not condoning Sarah, but it's saying, look at what a saint is. A saint is a complicated thing. I mean, he didn't even do anything magical, really. It's like, he's kind of like, trying to bring the whole stuff down to earth. It's not like something that we don't it's something we don't understand, but it's not something we don't see all the time. And if you think about Sarah, this is a guy who really did believe that he was doing the right thing, but he wasn't. How many of us probably think we're doing the right thing, but we're not? To people, that's probably a lot of people. So I think it's like a really interesting move. A really interesting move. Especially to do it in the US. I feel like since I grew up on the East Coast, I never really understood like how the country was colonized by European countries. Like I always thought it was like basically I'm talking about when I was younger. I just thought it was like just England. But God, most of the country was colonized by Spain. And under this religious kind of pretext that, of course, it was, some of the people were using it in a malicious way, but a lot of people really believed it. A lot of people really thought that they were doing the right thing. I believe that, at least. And so it's just, life is complicated. The other big thing that he did was this peace agreement in Colombia. Colombia, 50 plus years of civil war with FARC. So many horrible things that have happened. I've been personally affected by this. Like, so many people had to leave the country, couldn't go back. The violence was insane. So it's like, it's a big deal for Pope Francis to have done this peace agreement. But then I hear, my family and stuff say things like that Santos is corrupt because he's just giving the FARC a free pass. But Colombia's a really religious country. Where you can't let your religion end at where it gets hard. That's where you really have to push through it. And I think the thing I'm talking about with Sarah is like, FARC is like a Sarah. FARC is like the people that maybe originally thought they were doing something good, were kind of in a crap situation that they didn't understand. They did a lot of really horrible things, like a lot. But let's forgive them. Let's just move on. I know why people are scared to move on because they don't want the same stuff to keep happening. But when you don't move on, honestly, that's when the same stuff keeps happening. So, really interesting messages from Pope Francis that I think are, sorry, my allergies, exciting and hard to swallow though. Like, they're not really what you want. Like, you want the saint just to be somebody who, it'd be easier if the saint was like somebody who never really did anything, but like something magical happened to, and it was just like out of this world. But instead, he's picking someone who like was trying to be a good Christian and ended up being a horrible one. And unfortunately, that's a lot of the people out there, you know? And I think, but then he's saying, you are like divine anyway. There's a lot. It's really, I like complicated things though. So I might be alone in that. I mean, it's hard. Especially with the like US, Latin America thing. I mean, our ties are have always been so strong. It's really all the same history on in some levels. You know, all of America that passed since the European like invasion. You know, it's all kind of bubbling right now, and that's for me the Pope being American, being Argentinian, and coming back and saying, you know, we need to move on. We need to forgive these things. I think it's a good message, honestly. And I'm somebody who doesn't forgive easily. So, touching messages from the Pope. I haven't really looked that much into it. I've just heard like the surface bubbling, but those are my initial reactions without having looked too deeply into what people are saying about it because I kind of wanted to know what I thought first. But I'm interested to hear what you think. And just leave some comments. Okay.